Greetings, brothers and sisters. Professor Spira here, and this is part 3 of talking about mucus and pus forming foods, and we are now down to beans, which are moderately mucus forming, and beans of all kinds and forms: black beans, black-eyed peas, fava beans, butter beans, cannellini beans, chickpeas, garbanzo beans, edamame, great northern beans, Italian beans, kidney beans, lentils, lima beans, mung beans, navy beans, pinto beans, soybeans, split peas, string beans, green beans, white beans, etc. Now, like I said with the cereals, the beans are something that can be used moderately during the transition, and you just don't want to overdo them. But they can be used to help you get off of things that are much worse, such as the pus-forming foods, such as the meat. If you can eat a bowl full of some beans with a huge salad and some steamed vegetables, then you're miles ahead of if you just had a steak and a small little salad and some milk or something to drink. I mean, so it's all about taking not necessarily baby steps, but taking good solid steps in the right direction, in the step away from the most addictive foods. What I found with beans are they are addictive, but they're much less addictive than, for me, they're less addictive than the cereals, and they eliminate better than the cereals. Is again, when you talk about the cereals, the main cereal that Eric recommends to use at the beginning of the transition is toasted wheat bread. And one of the reasons for that is because it eliminates better than other things. You cook out the gluey property to it, which is part of a very rational process of the transition. You get rid of the gluey property. And so with the beans, they're if they sit in you for too long and you don't cover them with a ton of salad or surround them with a bunch of salad, it's gonna be all get starchy and start turning into slime. But if you have enough of the vegetables around it that helps it eliminate properly, then it can be an incredible transitionary tool. But again, you have to know how to use it along the transition. Nuts and seeds. I consider them mildly mucus-forming, and nuts, all kinds: acorns, almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, chestnuts, hazelnuts, peanuts, pecans, pistachios, walnuts, etc. Seeds, all kinds of seeds: sunflower, pumpkin, hemp, sesame, etc., etc. And in the book, Eric discusses nuts, but there's a contradiction in the original Mucusless Diet about nuts. In one place it says that it's not mucus forming, and another, then later on, Eric emphasizes that it is mucus forming. And in the notes section, I sort of explain why this discrepancy might be in the book itself. But just to be clear, nuts are mucus forming. However, they can be used during the transition period. And the best thing to do with nuts is to always eat them with dried fruit, such as raisins. It's not really a good idea to eat nuts by themselves because they don't really eliminate well, especially when you start to clean your intestines up. They do not eliminate well. If you're in a fasting mode, or you're trying to be mucusless, or you're trying to get into higher levels of detoxification, you're going to want to not deal with nuts at all. But when you're in your kind of long-term transitionary plateaus, you can have periods of where you're dealing with nuts. Never eat them anywhere near juicy fruits. And again, just really be moderate and rational with how you deal with nuts. I know some people, particularly maybe some raw foodists or people that are aspiring to different types of fruitarianism, get pretty deep into the nuts, or they start getting into making a lot of nut butters and these kind of processed nut kind of things. But you think of in nature about nuts and the amount of effort it would take for a human to sort of crack a nut and eat it. It's not like grabbing an apple off the tree or grabbing a mango, something like that. That's fairly easy to get into with our hands and with our teeth, with the tools that we have. Nuts are pretty hard to get into, and then you get into the buttering of it, the creating, processing it into butters and all this kind of stuff. It's, again, cool for the transition, but long-term mucusless thinking, it's something that you're going to want to be very moderate with, and definitely go periods without when you go periods or you're totally mucusless. Processed foods, pus and or very mucus forming. We got dried convenience foods, fast foods, frozen convenience foods, packaged convenience foods, and processed meats. And processed foods they're not good. And a lot of people know they're not good, but when you really start to look at from this mucusless perspective why they're not good, it's not just because they're made in a big plant and all this processes, all this stuff. The thing about the processing is that you destroy the food's ability to eliminate well. You destroy if it had any potential fibrous kind of effect, it totally kills that. And it's just this mushy mess. You eat it and it goes in your stomach, your intestines. It's just this mushy mess. Your body was not built with processed foods in mind. I guarantee you that. Our ancestors were not eating processed foods. And so these denatured foods can wreak havoc on our bodies over a long period of time. And that's why young people start to suffer from a lot of ailments that their parents didn't even have. Some babies are born with a lot of mucus problems and ailments. I was born with terrible mucus issues, right? I had tubes put in my ears to actually drain the mucus in my nasal cavities, and this processed food is definitely something that we've just taken so overboard, because in post-industrialization convenience foods, this idea is pop this in the microwave, let's go to a fast food joint. The process by which this kind of assembly line consciousness that creates these foods are totally adverse to nature. And the further away we get from nature, the further away we get from rational consciousness, rational thought and thinking. And we end up getting into a state of chronic illness where that becomes inevitable. So I think I will end this video here. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace, love, and breath.